the state, the financial fallout from COVID-19 has resulted in a projected budget deficit of $2.4 billion. I spoke with state economist Dr. Kalambokidis.
One thing that struck me from your presentation was the graphic that showed that the U.S. economic outlook would not recover to its projection prior to the pandemic. So is the idea that this COVID-19 experience that we're having, the idea that it might just be a blip in our economy, is that wishful thinking?
Yeah, so the outlook shows that the US real GDP recovers to its pre-pandemic level within sometime next year, but it never gets back to the trajectory that we were on. So we never get back to the path that we were on. That means that we're forever on a path that's lower than what we had been. So it's a permanent loss of economic activity. And so the pandemic is likely to have some long-term create some structural changes in the U.S. economy. And one of the things that is expected to happen is that during this recession, businesses are not investing as much in equipment and structures, buildings and equipment as they normally do. And that equipment is the kind of thing that improves labor productivity. And so when you don't get that investment in equipment, you don't get you get a lost labor productivity. You also get some loss in human capital investment. So people investing in their own productivity, either through looking for new jobs or getting an education. And so that lost productivity is what keeps us on a lower trajectory, a lower path than what we would have been on otherwise.
IHS Markit, the macroeconomic consultant for the state of Minnesota, made its predictions going forward based on the assumption that COVID-19 peaks in the second quarter, that social distancing ends in the third quarter, and that positive growth returns by the end of the year. Is this optimistic?
Well, it certainly comes with risk and uncertainty, and they made that clear. One of the things that they took pains to make clear is that their economic outlook depends very critically on the assumptions they're making about the path of the pandemic. And so if the pandemic takes a different path, or if even the economic forecasters' understanding of the pandemic is different, so maybe the pandemic is doing what it was going to do otherwise, but we understand it differently or better, then that's going to change the economic outlook. And that's one of the things that is making the US economic outlook so volatile right now. So that under normal circumstances, month to month, the US economic outlook changes some, and we worry about those changes on the margin, and a couple of decimal points change in growth rates matters. But now, month to month, the US economic outlook is changing. It's changing much more than usual. And so part of that is that all of the forecasters are trying to understand the epidemiology, trying to understand how the disease is progressing, and then also trying to understand how governments are reacting. What's the path of lifting restrictions or adding more restrictions, and then probably most importantly, how are people reacting? So are consumers feeling like they have enough money and they're safe enough to get out there and spend the way they were before? Are businesses feeling like they have the means to open their businesses safely? So all of that creates uncertainty and risk in this outlook.
So speaking of uncertainty and risk, experts say that COVID-19 will be with us for some time. And with this great uncertainty, how reliable then are economic forecasts? In a way, are they just exercises in futility?
They are really being stretched to their limits. Our models, our forecasting models, are being stretched to their limits. This event, this really dramatic decrease in economic activity because of a pandemic, is something that we have not seen in modern times. And this very sharp and sudden increase in the number of people who are not working and shut down of businesses is something we've never seen before. And so our models tend to look at history and see how what did it look like in history when something like this happened? And then the models try to predict from there. That's not really working now. So it's an exercise in trying to be creative and flexible with the modeling and bringing in as much information as we can. Some information maybe we normally wouldn't have brought in, and trying to develop new models that are able to do this forecasting. So if it weren't so urgent, and if there weren't so much pain associated with this event, it would be fascinating. But it's also really a hard time to try to figure out what's going to happen next in the economy.
Dr. Kalambokidis, I always enjoy getting your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.